Hey everyone, welcome to another Tidbits from the Road. This is kind of a special one for me because I saw a little tweet last night that the closest Tesla store to me is Easton in Columbus, Ohio, and they picked up a Model 3 that has went on display today. So did a little emailing co-workers and such, made sure it was clear, took a half day, it's road trip time, and we're heading to see the Model 3. But that's not all I got for you today. Did a quick little research, because something of note's come up here recently, and that being the Jaguar I-Pace and the Hyundai Kona Electric. There's been a lot of questioning what's going on. Other automobile manufacturers all of a sudden finally starting to release some viable competition for Tesla. If you're unfamiliar with either of those cars, they're both small crossovers, at least from as best I can tell. The Jaguar I-Pace is a 240-mile range vehicle, and the Kona is an impressive 292 range. Now that's the long-range model. There is a shorter range model, which I think was like 180-ish something. But even that, for being the lesser model, is a very, very respectable short range. It's not the old days where the range was 70 or 110 or whatever. Finally we're getting some decent range on these EVs that are being produced by the yet to be actually produced, but allegedly being produced, I guess, from these mainstream auto manufacturers, right? So I kind of wanted to dig in a little bit, because Jaguar also released a bunch of fanfare and publicity around the release of the car, and they put it up against a Model X in a performance test, let's call it. It actually is a really nice little performance test. If you're not aware, I believe this is a common test that it's the 0 to 60 and stop test. How short a distance you can do this in. And it's interesting that they put this against their vehicle against the Model X, and especially with one of the comments made in the video. Because the I-Pace, at least to me, and it's hard to judge because you're not there in person, but the I-Pace looks to be not a Model Y, or not a Model X competitor, rather. It's more, when the Model Y is released, looks to be in the Model Y range. And that gives it a very distinct advantage in a couple of, you hear my phone go off because I didn't put it on vibrate like I tend to do. So I'll take care of that right there. That was a very interesting comparison because the smaller car is going to win that. So they kind of set themselves up for success a little disingenuously from the beginning. The second thing that you have going on there is the first time they put it against a Model X 75D, which no slouch on acceleration, but it's not the creme de la creme from Tesla, that of course being the P100D. And then they even mention that and say, oh, we didn't give you the P100D, so let's up the ante here, right? And so rather than giving the P100D, they give the 100D, which is not a lot different performance-wise from the 70D, except that it's heavier. So the 0 to 60 race was a little better, but then the predicted result, a heavier car yet, is failing to stop shorter than their car did. But because of these things, the most disingenuous thing that was said in the entire video was talking about the aforementioned P100D and how, well, if you bought one of those, you could buy two of these, right? So you're literally comparing the top end maxed out version of another company's car to your base car, which I'm sure the $70,000 I-Pace was not the as-equipped I-Pace that we saw running against the Model X on this video. Or maybe it was, who knows. Regardless, it's not the same car class. The Model X is a full-size SUV. It is not a crossover. The I-Pace, again, I may be wrong, but the I-Pace appears to be a crossover, not a full SUV. And so it's this type of not apples to apples comparison that's really frustrating, because let's be frank, you know, Jaguar, you have a nice looking car. You have a very, very good performing car by all accounts there, in your own video at least. The comparison does you no favors, especially when Model Y does make it out, which we'll get to that in a minute. So enough about Jaguar here. Let's move over to Hyundai. I've kind of been a bit of a closet fan of Hyundai and their electric line. I know that there have been some problems, I think, with their plug-in hybrid Ioniq, not the pure EV Ioniq. But before I got my Model S, or maybe shortly thereafter, I can't remember, but I saw the first commercials for the Ioniq, and at least for my taste, that was a beautiful looking car. And then I saw the range specs on the Ioniq, and it was definitely disappointing, because that was a pretty car, and definitely one that could advance EVs forward, and still might, actually. But that range, if I recall correctly, was in the high 90, somewhere in the 90s to 110 range. Long story short, it did not impress me. Now they come out with the Kona crossover electric, and that is impressive. 292, I believe, 290 something miles of range in that crossover vehicle. Now you're talking. Thank you other car manufacturers for finally putting out something, and I can't discount the Chevy Bolt, because again, finally something that is a viable EV that most people, 95% of people really can't say. Of course, the long range, road trip situation is always going to be a thing, that'll be a detractor thing. But the around town vehicle, the commute and back, when you start getting over 200 miles of range, you can call yourself a viable EV. And thank you, Hyundai, for really putting together a nice vehicle here. Now, obviously, we got to see what it ends up looking like. I glanced over some performance specs, which were not impressive. They were actually kind of Bolt-esque performance specs. But let's see what we get for a price here, because again, not everyone can produce a Model 3 and have that kind of specs and that kind of price. But as long as, the range is the big thing. You got to get range, and of course it needs to be reliable. And unfortunately, like I said, the Hyundai has had some problems with their Ioniq line. I think it's been charging problems, actually, which could affect both the plug-in hybrid and the EV version of that car. So now let's talk about the kind of the elephant in the room, right? So Tesla has been the leader in breaking into these markets thus far. So first into the electric vehicle sedan market, first into the SUV EV market. But now it would seem that Tesla is going to be beaten to market actually, they were beaten to market by the Bolt too in the small entry-level luxury sedan market. But that doesn't seem to be hurting them, as in February, per Inside EVs, Tesla, for the second month in a row, bested deliveries in the U.S. Over the Chevrolet Bolt. But the Bolt, I guess the Bolt did have a year head start, give or take, on the Model 3. So let's see what we get from the crossover segment, because this will be a pretty significant head start, I think. At least probably 2 years is what I'm guessing, per my own prognostications on when I think Model Y will actually make it to the world. So let's see what Hyundai and Jaguar can do with that time, because clearly Chevy, it didn't help them. They're trailing the Model 3 even in production hell still. So maybe Hyundai and Jaguar can get it done. Who knows? Regardless, this is a great thing for EVs in general. We're finally getting, the mainstream manufacturers are finally starting to get it. You can't throw a battery with wheels on the road, and just because there's a battery in it, everyone's going to jump to it. And I think Nissan is sadly learning that lesson the very hard way with the Leaf, even the new generation Leaf, because why? So if Tesla didn't exist, tell me why you buy a Leaf over a Bolt when the Bolt is just far superior in range and, in my opinion, styling too. I mean, I kind of, I know a lot of people hate on the Leaf styling. I'm not one of those people. I think the styling of the Leaf is okay, but I do prefer the Bolt styling. So, at least in my opinion, better looking, objectively a better range. So maybe the next generation of the Leaf will finally get us some range that's in the 200 plus mile category, and they can get back into the competition, because in a world where Model 3 and Bolt exist, I don't see the place for the Leaf. And if you disagree, feel free to comment on the video to let me know what you got to say about that. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and take a break here. I'm about 20 or so miles from the Easton store, so I'm going to sign off for now until I get to the store, and then on camera with me, hopefully, will be the wonderful Model 3 that I have literally been waiting years of my life to actually see and sit in. Despite having a Model S now, I am super stoked to go sit in the Model 3 and have a look and touch it and see it firsthand for the first time. So, catch you here in a little bit. Alrighty, we are here, pulling into the parking garage here. Hopefully, we got a destination charge available for us, because constantly these things are just racked and packed. So let's see, we're going to make the turn here and see what we got. If this guy will... Yeah, I think you had a stop sign there, buddy. And yes, we do indeed have actually several chargers available, so let's make this happen. Let's get her in here. I always am nervous about these because of the wall. Alright. So this is a good sign for me actually being able to see it. Not a lot of Teslas here today. So I'm going to take... One thing that the internet has failed everybody at least that I've seen so far, is for dimensions on the Model 3, nobody has brought a banana. I've brought a banana today. So let's get to it. Taking the walk. Let's see what we get here. Flip you out to the front here. And we're going to turn the corner and... Well, it's not out front. Must be inside. I don't see a line. This is really promising. So the line's not too bad. I came at a great time, and let's have a look at her. Stiletto wheels on it. She's pretty. Definitely pretty. As you see, they got people kind of crowding around it. wiping it down as people look at it. So they're on top of it. Very cool. All right, get my tour here. So I'm going to take you out of the video. So that way. But
no worries. So real quick, I'll show you some exterior before you have you hop in.
All right.
To compare it to the Model S. The Model S is 196 inches long. It's going to offer 30 cubic square feet of storage. And the Model 3 is going to be 184 inches long, and it's going to offer 15 feet. So what they did is essentially cut the storage in half, but left the cabin size the same. So you're going to get the same legroom. You're going to feel the same in the Model 3 that you'll feel.
I was saying, I'm a tall guy like you, so this will be fun to sit in.
Yeah.
So I own a Model S.
Okay.
And getting that seat adjusted to exactly where I wanted it took a little bit.
Right, yeah. And it's a little different in here because you're going to adjust it with the knobs.
Right.
So it's a different.
Oh, so there's not stuff on the
There's
side of the seat.
stuff on the side, but like with the steering wheel.
Yeah, I knew the steering wheel. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was mentioning. Some of the stuff on the steering wheel. I'll show you the trunk real quick. So 15 cubic square feet is still a massive amount. I can maybe show you the light. So you can kind of see better in there.
And actually, I have brought a banana for scale.
Banana for scale.
So that way you can see exactly what the size is there. I'm particularly.
Amount of storage.
Yeah.
Fishing poles, hockey sticks. You can fold down those back row seats, get a little more storage space. You have another compartment down here as well. If you want to store some things down there.
Still got the same little extra space that Model S has.
Since there's no exhaust system, we have that little extra storage. And then also, our cars have front trunk. No
Right.
engine. Why don't we implement that front trunk? So we did. Bring you over here. With the charge port on the side, this one's going to be a little different than the S. We're going to push on there, lift that up. And instead of the port illuminating, the T is now going to illuminate based upon how much charge you have.
Is it? It's still the flicker? Is the faster flicker? More charge needed?
You got it. So we'll close that, and then we'll take it to a real new concept with the door handles. So they still went with the flush look.
Yeah, I was very curious to try this out.
But now there's less technology involved. So what it's going to be is a push and a pull.
Yep.
So a push over here, pull here. And it can be a real fluid movement, just push and pull. So you can go ahead and test that out, and I'll let you hop in.
Definitely. A lot of people. I say actually it doesn't, because a lot of people made a big deal about that being a thing.
It depends on what side you're on. So obviously on this side, we're going to use our left.
Well, I say you can also still use the underhook too.
Yeah.
Which actually might be a little more natural for me.
Sure. Yeah. So it's just going to take something to get used to. Yeah. If you want to hop inside, Rex is in the back. He's going to walk you through some more things.
All right.
Inside the Model 3, my friend.
Thank you.
So first and foremost, you can scroll that left steering wheel. Yep, there you go, you got it.
Pull that
All
down.
Right, I see you got a camera. My face can't be in it. That's it. That's the only thing.
Nope. I'm not
Cool.
going to point at you. I will turn that way to get to me if I'm going to face point.
You're good. I can also get out if you want to do a full.
Oh no, we're good. We're good.
So I'm gonna give you. We got a couple minutes together. I'm gonna give you my spiel.
All right, go for it.
First and foremost, bottom left-hand corner, that picture that looks like a car. Press that. Middle of the screen to the right side, you'll see the button that says steering wheel.
Yep.
So that'll actually allow you to adjust the steering wheels. You scroll those wheels, you'll feel the haptics and also how responsive it is. It's honestly one of my favorite parts. The other one will allow you to go up and down. It's honestly, it just feels so satisfying. There's something about it. That just,
Actually, it's almost like the notches is, wow, that's really nice.
Isn't that kind of crazy?
That's very nice.
So the next thing I love about when it comes to the aesthetic and just the feel of the car is going to be this dashboard here with the single vent. So you'll press the fan button in between those 67s real quick. Go ahead and see that little,
yes.
Yep, that'll drag it around. So if you want to spread them apart, you press that button in the bottom corner.
This
right
guy.
there.
There you go.
So
I can feel it too.
Yeah, no, so that's where you adjust your airflow. So I'm going to break the car down for you. We're in a fully loaded Model 3. It's on the premium 19-inch sport wheels. It has a premium upgrades package as well as a longer range battery and I spaced out there. The long range battery. We'll just go from there. Long range battery will get you 310 miles on a full charge. The premium upgrades package will get you a couple things I'm going to list off here, as well as some more. It gets us this specially engineered material. It's kind of like a vegan leather. It's more durable. It's easier to clean, easier to maintain, things of that nature. The premium upgrade package will also get you this glass panoramic roof, as well as the Dolby 5.1 surround sound that you heard the minute you stepped the foot in here. You get heated seats, power mirrors. I mean, the list just goes on and on. That being said, center console. You got some other console space up front underneath that screen. Go ahead and take your time, poke around.
I'd say I definitely missed this in my Model S. This would be nice to have.
That's why I pointed out.
See, and this
when
is
I
already.
Center console, I was like, oh, what? Do we still make those? Like, we should have did it here before. But, yeah. What do you think?
Actually, I'm surprised. So being a tall guy, I'm very surprised, and I'm 6'4", and I'm surprised that.
Space.
Well, I'm surprised that I just sat down in it and I could drive off in this.
Yeah.
That is amazing. I could probably sit down a little lower, maybe, but this is as low, someone already had it as low as it's going.
Essentially.
That's pretty cool. On the autopilot here, so it's a double tap down. Is that
Correct.
the way to?
Double tap down will
Okay.
do the autopilot. A single tap down will do just the cruise control.
That is very nice.
Yeah.
The interface is definitely a lot different than the Model S.
It's a lot smoother too.
Much. That's why I was getting at.
I
a
like
lot
it a
smoother.
lot. The
Yeah.
fact that I have to rely on this screen makes me feel a lot better when it runs like this. So. Cool. So we want to go ahead and get the flow going. I'll have you do one more thing. Under the P, you see that button that says open?
Yeah.
You're gonna press that. I'll pop the open trunk or the front trunk for you. To exit the vehicle, you grab the handle and you'll press this button at the top. And then someone will be out there to just answer some questions for you. All right?
Alrighty.
All right. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. All right. The question that everyone has. That is a very light hood for sure, and our banana for scale. So there you go. There's the banana for scale in the front. I gotta say the lip is not nearly as bad as I thought it would be. It's a new thing. This is very. I mean, there is nothing to this. That is awesome. Well, that's it. So that's it for the my tour of Model 3. I'll probably get a still picture taken, and that's it. I'll give you my thoughts on the way home. Okay, so back on the road home, and wow. As I mentioned, one of my Twitter followers who was following along here, just a teensy bit of buyer's remorse over my Model S, only because of just that center screen is amazing. For those of you that own a Model S or a Model X, you know just how terrible the response time is on finagling anything on that screen. And while the Model 3's is not, I would not consider it buttery smooth, it is really smooth, and it feels like a generation or two, which very well may be possible, newer hardware in there that's running that screen. That was one of the biggest things that struck me. The second biggest thing that struck me, and this has been touched on by other folks, but so I am 6'4". Tall folks out there, do not worry about if you can fit in the Model 3. In fact, the way that the car was already set up, I just sat down in it and it was snug as a bug in a rug. And I'm not the thinnest person in the world either. I run about 260. Even my butt in the seat was, I would say snug, but it's not like snug in a way of I feel constricted, right? It was just good enough that like if you're taking a hard turn or whatever, you're not going to slide in the seat or anything like that. That was a good feeling. The as you saw, I played around with the air vents a little bit, and actually a nice little touch when you go to the air vent control mode, it turns on the vents full blast so you can feel what it's doing. Very nice little software touch, Tesla. That's kudos right there. Because what's one of the biggest problems you have trying to figure out if your manual vent is adjusted right. It's you gotta turn the air full blast and figure out where you're aiming. So neat little software touch there. Again, the little things that Tesla does that just makes so much sense, right? Another of the conversations that I had with the aforementioned Twitter follower, and again, I don't know if he wants to be mentioned, so that's why I'm not mentioning who it is. But we were talking about the fact that still, and obviously I didn't get to drive it, so I couldn't say this from first-hand experience, but the fact that the right scroll wheel on the Model 3 has not yet been adapted to control autopilot speed and distance is a travesty. That should have been done yesterday. As he mentioned, that he thought that was a distracting thing to have to go to the touch screen to adjust, and I agree. You should just be able, like, without even thinking of it, move your, like I can here with my stalk, I move it up or down, or in the case of Model 3, just looking straight ahead at the road, I can scroll up or down or left or right. Up and down would be speed in my opinion, and left and right would be distance following, where right moves you closer, left moves you further away. This is not rocket science. I mean, I know Tesla is loosely related to a rocket company, so they would have that expertise if they needed it. They don't. Get it done, guys. It really needs to happen. Other thoughts. Staff there today, they were as excited to have that car as we all are to see it. Every stupid little question that everybody had, there was only a few people, maybe a dozen or so in front of me. The line went very quick. Got about 3 minutes in the car with someone waiting behind me. They had mentioned that at the very beginning of the day it was a little busy. Lunchtime it got a little busy, but they're expecting to get crushed once the workday is over, which is, as I speak now, about 52 minutes from now. Godspeed, Easton, Columbus, Tesla store crew. I wish you nothing but the best tonight. Have fun. I know it is your job, but I gotta think this is one of the more enjoyable parts of your job, is when you get to, it's not too often you get a new model of vehicle, and you're probably gonna be waiting another 4 years or so before you have another one in the Model 3 or Model Y, give or take. So enjoy this as much as you can, guys. That's about it. One other thing that surprised me a little bit, I would say, and I'm recording this now, so I haven't edited yet, so I don't know how much of my sound you got, if I'm going to have to take that out of the tour, but the frunk lid, my goodness, there is nothing to that thing. It is super, super light. So no worries about maneuvering that thing. You still do, as I think people have mentioned, you have the two-hand push that you've got to do to actually close it. Something I think in the future that Tesla is going to have to address, because as more normal non-enthusiast folks get these cars, you're going to have people expecting to slam them. I don't know if that's part and parcel of having an aluminum hood instead of a steel one, because this is the only car I've ever owned that's had an aluminum hood that maybe gets bent and there's no way around that. But regardless, it's a concern. How about that? And especially as light as, man, that thing was light. It was like lifting paper. It was so light. But overall, I mean, it is a gorgeous car. Oh, the handles, right? So actually, it's kind of neat. So the door didn't seem to me, like other people have said that when you push the handle in, it kind of pops a little for you. I didn't really notice that. But what was really took me by surprise is, obviously it's the cantilever, right? So you push your thumb on the fat part, it pops the thin part, you grab that at that point, and then you get into the car. And I thought that it would be second nature, left-handed on the driver's door, just pop it, pull it, go, right? I found myself enjoying the right-handed undergrab more than the left-handed overgrab, which surprised me a little bit. It felt a little less clunky to me for some reason. It was weird because the way that the handle's designed, it's designed for you to overhand it, and if you're walking to the driver's door, if you open the driver's door with your right hand, your right side is going to be in the way, right? So they're encouraging you to use your left hand. I almost think it would have been better if they had reversed the handle, so I could have done that with my left hand underhooked instead. Just again, it's a weird thing to nitpick, but something I just didn't expect. So that is it for this. I got the touch and feel Model 3 edition of Tidbits from the Road. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope the video came out well, and the audio, or sorry, not well, the video too, but the audio as well came out well. The frunk, I was really wanting to get the frunk with the banana in it. I'm glad. Hopefully, again, that video came out well. Man, this has been a day, literally years in the making. I'm happy to have been able to do it. I can't wait to actually get to finally drive one for myself. I just would love to try one out. So when that will eventually happen, who knows? We'll see. So thanks everyone for listening to my rambling for the last half hour or so, whatever this time code ended up being on this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the tour. I know there's been just oodles of Model 3 reaction videos out there, but I know everyone has their preference of personality that they like, so I thought I'd throw mine out in the hat, out there into the world as well. So that's it for this episode. Again, before I go, obviously I have to thank my super patrons for supporting this show as they do. Couldn't do it without you guys. If you are interested in supporting this show and want to give a little something for the value that I bring you, both for the standard show and this video show, feel free to kick on over to patreon.com/Tesla Tidbits and have a look. All those super patrons that I mentioned beforehand, you'll see their names on a card at the end of this episode. So truly, that will end it for this episode. I want to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like the video, comment with any questions or comments that you have. And until next time, keep it charged and hit the road.